everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the European Soccer Show, or TESS, as now we're calling it. Thank you all for joining us again. Obviously, it's been a couple of weeks since we had a roundup of the top 5 European leagues last week. Essentially, I was locked out of my house and couldn't record. Ha 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 ha. But I'm back. I am inside, and now we're taking action. Also inside is Leo. Leo, how is it inside?
Yeah, I'm always inside, so I'm pretty good with a new French Ballon d'Or.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, inside Leo, inside, always inside, like a hermit or a mole. So, yes,
Yeah,
let's quickly talk about the Ballon d'Or. Yes, of course, that was last night. And the big news, of course, is that Dembele is officially the best player in the world, according to French Football Magazine. I suppose, apart from being a proud moment as a proud Frenchman yourself, or, I assume, it's quite a big moment for Dembele as well, isn't it? Because obviously he's had so much of his career. People have talked about him not quite reaching his potential, and somehow this last 12 months, he's become the best in the world.
yeah, of course. It's a really well rewarded distinction for him because when he was at Barcelona for 6 years, um, we have always said that his injuries are a bad thing for his potential. He was playing alongside with Messi, Iniesta, Suarez, but didn't really compete with them at the highest level if we just talk in terms of football. And since his arrival at PSG, where he holds a special place because when Mbappe left for Madrid, he was the one elected to be the guide of Paris. So yeah, it's really impressive to see from where he had been to where he is now. I don't think some people would have expected him to win the Ballon d'Or when he left Barcelona.
Mm. I suppose one of the questions I should ask is, for context, so this year's Ballon d'Or was quite a close run thing because there are so many players that could have won it, right? So thinking about like Vitinha, thinking about Ashraf Hakimi,
Yeah.
but also then players from Barcelona like Rafinha and Lamine Yamal. Um, has Dembele won it sort of because of his teammates? Because obviously Paris Saint-Germain, there was no sort of one exceptional player in this side. They all seem to have become exceptional.
Yeah. Firstly, the boss of France Football, which is the magazine who organize all that Ballon d'Or ceremony, said yesterday that Dembele, it was how can I say that? He got all the votes from the 100 journalists from all over the world. So it was not a thin line between him and Lamine Yamal. Or it was a really a plebiscite. So yeah, and then I don't think Dembele is the best player in the world, to be honest. Lamine Yamal is, in my opinion, but he's the shining player in a shining collective, in a shining team with
Mm.
PSG, who have also won the Club of the Year award. Luis Enrique has been crowned Manager of the Year. Gianluigi Donnarumma lift the Yashin Trophy. So it's a collective award more than an individual one. But with his statistic and the everything he did, it's really deserved for him.
Yeah, I suppose again some context again is important because of course thinking about other trophies like you say Paris Saint-Germain, their coach won Coach of the Year, the goalkeeper won Goalkeeper of the Year, the player who's registered the most goal contributions, I think both goals and assists, I think it's Dembele, I think I'm right in saying, has won,
Yeah,
the Ballon d'Or. It's hardly surprising considering the team has won the treble last season. Um, yeah, I suppose who Lamine Yamal came second, and you describe him as probably the best player in the world right now. But on paper, Rafinha again has more goal contributions than Lamine Yamal, and he was a lot of people's favourites going into the tournament. Why do you think Rafinha didn't win it? Or rather, why do you think it was Lamine Yamal ahead of Rafinha?
Yeah, because I think for a ceremony like the Ballon d'Or, you have to also think about how people perceive the players. When you watch Barcelona, even if Rafinha scored and assisted a lot, I think it was 61 goal and assist across the season for him. The player who was always who you saw always on the pitch was Lamine Yamal, in my opinion. Especially if you remember his semi-finals against Inter Milan, his title goal against Espanyol on the 36th day of La Liga. He scored and assisted against Real Madrid in domestic cup finals. When we talk about Lamine Yamal, we also talk about an 18-year-old player. So it's something I don't think we could forget about that. And everything is put in place to talk more about Lamine Yamal than to talk about Rafinha in communication, in ads, in everything. So I think, yeah, people had him in mind when they voted.
Mm. Okay, next question then, because quite often the Ballon d'Or goes hand in hand with a level of success, right? So it tends to be awarded to players who have won the biggest trophies or had significant contributions to the teams that have won the biggest trophies. If we look at, say, the women's, the Ballon d'Or Féminine, so Aitana Bonmati won it for the third time running, becoming the first woman to win the award 3 times, and also becoming only the third player to win 3 in a row after Michel Platini and Leo Messi. So it's an astonishing achievement. But I suppose what I would bring up is that obviously her Barcelona side won the domestic treble, but then lost the final of the Champions League to Arsenal, and with Spain lost the final to England at the European Championships on penalties. My question therefore would be: do you think an English player, say for example, because there are several who play for both Arsenal and England who won the Champions League and the European Championship, do you think it's fair to consider Bonmati the best player in the world ahead of, say, players that have achieved more this year, or do you think this is actually completely fair and she is the best player in the world by far?
I think I got the same way of thinking than for the men's, because if I was to be, if I had to vote, I would have voted for Lamine Yamal, even if he didn't won the Champions League, because he's the player, the player you see on the pitch, the one you pay for to go to stadium, the one you cheer for, the one you tweet about, the one you talk about. And you are better placed than me to talk about women's football. But I think, from what I know about Bonmati, she's the star of Barcelona, and of course the big favorites are the main stars of their team. You mentioned Ashraf Hakimi, who finished sixth in the rankings. We can also talk about Pedri, who finished 11. I think each club has its star, and that's why some players, maybe she or he hasn't been the best player for everyone, but he's the ones elected by the club to be put on the light.
We should probably say as well that the award is decided. Well, the Ballon d'Or award itself is decided by journalists around the world, sports, specifically football journalists, obviously. Well, yeah, but I suppose looking at the other awards for the evening, obviously the Copa Trophy goes to the best under 21 players, both Barcelona and Spanish. So Lamine Yamal won the Copa Trophy male, and Vicky Lopez won the female. But I suppose my point is, like, the other awards that you're giving out the evening follows the thing of who achieved the most. So look at the Yashin Trophy, right? Donnarumma won the best goalkeeper in the world award, basically, because of his incredible performance in the Champions League, right? Which, again, no denying it, it was astonishing, and you'd be hard pressed to to find a better goalkeeper in the world in the past 12 months. Likewise, the women's Yashin Trophy was awarded to Hannah Hampton. Now, she won obviously the domestic treble with the Chelsea women's side, and they also went undefeated in the whole season, which is insane. And then won the European Championship with England, which I think is possibly the reason why she won it, because I don't think anyone realistically regarded her as the best goalkeeper in the world, but she had the biggest impact at the biggest tournament of the year. So you see what I mean? So it seems to apply for the goalkeeper rather, but not quite to the Ballon d'Or itself. But then, of course, it's all interpretive. Hence, why you ask journalists, I guess, as opposed to the voting public. Otherwise, you vote for your team.
But it's funny because we always say that football is the most individual sport of collectives one. But I think the Ballon d'Or is the most collective award of the individual trophies, because when you watch the rankings and related to what you have been saying now, you can see that the international competitions, the Champions League, weight in the balance, not only the real individual performances, and that's my point. I was really happy to see Mohamed Salah finish fourth, because if we didn't talk about the Champions League accomplishment, I think he would have deserved to win the award, because what he did last season and what he has been doing for now many years at Liverpool is truly sensational. I don't think we praise him.
That was going to be one of my next questions. I was going to say, like, who do you think? Because there are certain players that just can't seem to break the top three. They can't even get, like, let alone try and win the award. One of the questions I was going to ask is, because obviously, look from an English point of view, there are only 2 English players in the top 20, I think. Certainly, like, I think Harry Kane was 11th and Cole Palmer was 8th.
No, Pedri was 11th, so maybe Kane was 12th or something. Yeah.
Anyway, so considering how commanding Kane has been in the Bundesliga and how many goals he scored and so on and so on, I suppose my question is, why do you think Cole Palmer was voted ahead of him, considering, in regards to achievements, Cole Palmer, while without doubt an exceptional player, but has been voted deserving a higher place finish than Harry Kane in the Ballon d'Or, and I'm not entirely sure why.
I can't understand. I can't answer that question, to be honest. Even you talk about Harry Kane, but we can mention Pedri on the 11th place. It's incredible. I would have think him to be in the top 5 of the Ballon d'Or, to be honest. Even Hakimi, we mentioned, is 6th place. I would have thought he would be 3rd or 4th maximum. Cole Palmer is quite strange. He's a great player, no question about that. But I think last season some players deserved more than him to be here. I think the Club World Cup had an impact on the Ballon d'Or, because
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's fresh in the memories when people voted, and Cole Palmer scored a brace in the final against PSG, the European champions and everything. So yeah, I think it could have had an impact on that, but I don't really understand why.
But it's going back to Mo Salah. It's Salah. Sorry, it's quite strange. I mean, I think back to, how was it, the 2019 season when he scored. 2018 and 2019, he scored a disgusting number of goals, and of course ended up with the second season Liverpool winning the Champions League. But of course he didn't win it. I think he finished sort of 7th or 8th. I think that was a big outcry because he finished shockingly low down the list despite that, and I think Messi probably won it that year. So you assume so, don't you? I suppose my last question before we move on, we'll talk about the top 5 European leagues and all the action from the weekend. My last question, I suppose, would be: do you think, because looking at Achraf Hakimi, the Ballon d'Or is almost universally awarded to forwards in some form, and occasionally like central midfielders. Although I think only because of course, I was going to say only Modric has won it in the last sort of 15 years, but of course Messi and Ronaldo dominated it for forever. Do you think it'd be healthier or better for the Ballon d'Or for a separate position to win it? Hypothetically, if Hakimi had won it, no one would deny he is the best right back in the world. Do you think it would be better for the Ballon d'Or for a separate position to win it as opposed to just being a forwards club?
I don't know if it would be better, but in my opinion, Achraf Hakimi would have really deserved to win it. It was sensational last season, scoring a lot of goals as a right defender, right back, providing a lot of assists. He was in every big moments of the PSG season. He scored in the final, the first goal against Inter. He played like 55 of 60, maybe more than 60 games last season. I think he was more regular than Ousmane Dembele across the season. But yeah, historically, the Ballon d'Or has always favorized the offensive midfielders.
Well,
Forward.
sorry to jump in. So I think back to last year when Rodri won it, because of course then Real Madrid boycotted the whole thing. It was very, very childish. It's proper sort of like throwing toys out of the pub, like, no, we want to win everything, even though they won Team of the Year and Coach of the Year, and Vinicius Junior was second, and all of that.
But and they were the Club of the Year last season, Real Madrid.
But Rodri winning it felt like a return to sort of almost like logic. Like, yes, he was without doubt the best player, and not just the best player in the best side, which it feels like Dembele might be. Like you say, as opposed to literally the best player in the world. Yeah, Rodri, everybody could see that. Actually, yes, he is possibly the most influential and best player in the world, as well as being in the best side. Yeah. Yes, and it feels like this may not be that. So I suppose the hope is moving forward that we see more balance in regards to, the more deserving, like Aitana Bonmati. Anybody with eyes watching the women's game can see she's without doubt probably the best player in the world. If not her, then Putellas and Guijaro. Coincidentally, all three of them Spanish and Barcelona midfielders. So, but yeah, there is such a step above. So it feels only right that someone with that quality should be recognized as the best in the world, even though they don't win everything. It just so happens that Dembele has won everything this year. So, like the best player in the best side. Right, should we talk about some league football?
Yeah, right.
Well, you know what? I always leave Ligue 1 to the end because reasons, general English and French rivalry / hatred. So let's talk about Ligue 1 before we go on. I will read the results for the weekend. So on Friday, we had beloved Lyon winning 1-0 against Angers. On Saturday, Lyon beat Lille. Lille missed the opportunity to go top of the table with a 3-0 defeat at Lyon. Quite shocking. Nantes drew 2-2 with Rennes. Brest, lovely Brest, beat Nice-Brest 4-1. Paris FC lost at home to Strasbourg 3-2 at home. Auxerre won, Toulouse 0. Le Havre won, Lorient won, and Monaco recovering from a disappointing midweek in the Champions League, destroying Metz 5-2. But let's start with last night's action, Monday night's action. Le Classique, I think you called it. Marseille 1, Saint-Germain
0.
Right, tell me about this game. So Marseille, before the game, I was going to message you and ask, is De Zerbi under pressure? Because at the time, Marseille were 8th, only 6 points from the start, and they would have been sort of languishing mid-table. But now they've just destroyed Paris Saint-Germain. Tell me about the game. Did Marseille earn it?
Yeah, just to put some context for the people who don't know about the situation of why a game Marseille PSG was held on a Monday at the same time as the Ballon d'Or ceremony. Initially, the game was set to be played on Sunday night, as usual in Ligue 1. But the weather conditions forced the authorities to push it back to Monday. And following the rules of the league, when a match is has to be rescheduled for um, weather conditions, it's the next day. And this year it was on the next the same day as the Ballon d'Or. So yeah, Marseille, they really played a good game. To be honest, not I would not say a great game, because we have to recall that PSG were playing without Ousmane Dembele, Désiré Doué, João Neves, and Bradley Barcola. So of course, it helps to play without that. But if you just look at the intensity of the game, what Marseille players have shown, the tension in the stands. I sent you a video yesterday from the Velodrome. You can feel that, and they just overwhelmed PSG. So it is a well-deserved victory, the first in 14 years in Ligue 1 at Stade Velodrome against Paris. So it was like you have a big pressure, because when you are a club like Marseille in France, you have to be competitive. And this last years, it was quite difficult, even if they finished second, for example, last season. But yeah, it was they were relieved yesterday when they finally beat the Paris Saint-Germain side. And now they will play against Strasbourg on Friday, which is also a tough away game, because, as you know, Strasbourg is now the little brother of Chelsea, with a lot of wealth, great players and everything. And then they will play Ajax in the Champions League. So they needed this win to start a good cycle. And yeah, now it's interesting to see how PSG will bounce back after that.
I suppose it's also quite important from a Liga point of view as well, because the
Yeah,
more competitive the league is, the more well, apart from anything else, the teams that are around Paris Saint-Germain, the longer that they can stay near them, the more that they can believe that now's the year that Paris Saint-Germain won't win the title, I guess.
yeah,
So you're looking at the league title, the league currently. Top is Monaco. Monaco on goal difference. You've got 4 teams on 12 points: Monaco, Paris Saint-Germain, your beloved Lyon, and Chelsea's B team, Strasbourg. And then you've got Lille, who I mentioned before, had the chance to go top of the league, but then lost to Lens 3-0. That was a real shock, wasn't it?
yeah. It was like in the whole Europe. It was a lot of great games this weekend, last weekend. Lens Lille is a derby in France, one of the most heated on the in the country. And yes, Lens really overwhelmed also Lille in Bollert, which is their stadium, with one of the most passionate fans in France. They just completely destroyed them. It was not an easy win, an easy game for Lille. Lens were Lille were beaten in intensity. If you just watch the 3 goals, you will see that 2 of them comes after high pressure on the pitch. Florian Thauvin, who had come back to France this summer, had an incredible game, scored a goal. He was the leader of his team, and now Lille, you mentioned it, they are fifth in the league, and they will host Lyon on Sunday. So it will be one of the main game of the weekend. They will have to bounce back too after Europa League football this Thursday, that Lyon are also participating too. So it will be a great game to watch, and more important to win for Lille.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at just to quickly highlight at the bottom of Liga, Metz only have a single point. And then you've got several teams all on 4 points. You've got Brest, Le Havre, Nantes, and Lorient. So it looks like it's going to be quite an exciting relegation battle, as well as hopefully a title challenge for someone else.
Yeah,
But yes, fingers crossed. Eh? So yeah, like I say, so Marseille are 6th on 9 points, Lille are 5th on 10 points, then you got Strasbourg, Lyon, Paris Saint-Germain, and Monaco all on 12. What's also quite important is the undefeated thing's already gone, because of course last season Paris Saint-Germain, that was essentially all they were playing for in domestically, weren't they?
yeah.
And the cup. But yes, but now it's already gone, which itself speaks about competition and competitive levels.
Yeah, last season I think they lost to Nice on the 35th match day of the season, between maybe the first and the second leg against Arsenal, or Arsenal, I think, in the semi-final of the Champions League. So yeah, this year it is quite soon in
Well,
the season.
talk about Nice, because obviously they've had quite a strange start to the season. They, of course, lost to Brest. Brest, this was their first win of the season. They were in the relegation zone. Now they've climbed out of it. But it was possibly it was an incredible frontline performance by Jacques, if I'm pronouncing that right,
Yeah,
who scored. I think he scored the opening goal, and then had a hat trick of assists.
yeah. It is a great addition to Brest. He has been definitively bought back from Bundesliga this summer against 2 million euros. A really truly experienced player in Liga. He's a tall man, big and tall man. But yeah, he had a breakthrough performance against Nice, which is quite deceiving, as all I will say, as often, because this team has talent, has a good coach with Franck Hez, who was the coach of Lens 2 seasons ago. But I don't really understand this team. Ineos is the shareholder,
Yes, and of course they
as
do such a
Manchester
wonderful
United.
job as running football clubs.
Yeah, they don't put money in the club. They prefer to put, I don't know how many millions to build Manchester United front three. So yeah, it's quite difficult for Nice and Brest, who you discovered last season in the Champions League against. They played against Real Madrid. They played. It was incredible. They had a struggling start to the season, and yeah, I hope and I think this big win will help them to finally start their season.
It's also probably quite important that going back to the title challenge for literally any other team, the importance of Paris Saint-Germain's schedule in the Champions League, of course, that's where the priority is. So if they're ever vulnerable, it's when they have to rotate. Right, let's leave Ligue 1 there. Let's go to La Liga. La Liga, looking at some results here. There are a few things I would like to talk about today. The quick results: Real Betis 3, Real Sociedad 1. They've had an awful start to the season, haven't they?
Yeah.
Girona, speaking of awful starts to the season, Girona 0, Levante 4. Manager Michel Sanchez might be in trouble there. Real Madrid 2, Espanyol 0. That's actually a good result for Real Madrid, considering how good Espanyol have been at the start of the season. Alaves 1, Sevilla 2, Villarreal 2, Osasuna 1, Valencia 2, Athletic Club 0. That's a good victory there. Rayo Vallecano 1, Vigo 1, Mallorca 1, Atletico 1. More drop points for Simeone's guys. Elche, and having a surprisingly good start to the season, 1, Oviedo 0, and Barcelona 3, Getafe 0. Right, let's look at the big lads first of all, shall we? So Real Madrid 2, Espanyol 0. Like I say, Espanyol having a really good start to the season. In fact, going into this match, we're only 2 points behind Real Madrid. But got goals either side of half time by Militao and Mbappe. gave Espanyol their first defeat of the season. So it wasn't an easy match for Madrid, really. Did you see much of this?
Yeah, I watched a part of it. It was not an easy game. I think like the few they played since the start to the season, because of course there is a context with a new coach. They need to assimilate his principle of plays, but when you have a Kylian Mbappe at this level, it's always easier to win this kind of games, because yeah, he's on fire since the start of the season. Eder Militao scored a screamer too during this game, and the most important for Real Madrid is that they are still unbeaten this season. They got win in a row in La Liga. They beat Marseille in the Champions League. So even if everything isn't perfect on the pitch, because they need some adjustments. If we just talk about points and victories, it's 100% victory. So yeah,
Yeah.
great start to the season.
5 from 5, and of course, I'm sure they're just glad
Yeah.
they didn't have another red card. Let's talk about Barcelona. So Marcus Rashford, after an incredible performance against Newcastle, was dropped because he was late for training. But then set up the third goal. So 3-0 against Getafe, two goals from Ferran Torres, and then one for Dani Olmo. I suppose the rather most interesting part of this was where the game was played.
Yeah, like against Valencia at the Johan Cruyff Stadium, which is the juvenile and feminine stadium. I think it's a
Yes.
6K seated place stadium. So yeah, it was quite funny.
For context for everyone else, because they had to get special permission from La Liga to play the game here, because there's a certain rule about the size of the stadium. Because the Camp Nou is still not ready. So therefore they had to get special permission to play at the stadium that holds fewer than 6,000 people.
But I know that journalists visited the Camp Nou this morning. I read that they hope to have the green light from the city council today to being able to play against Real Sociedad on Sunday, and maybe I don't think PSG, because it has already been told that they will play at Montjuic, but I think the comeback to the Camp Nou is now really close, and I hope to, because it's a great stadium.
Well, it's also a financial necessity. So also it was announced this week that La Liga have reduced Barcelona's salary cap by 120 million euros.
Yeah.
It was over their the VIP boxes or the VIP seats they tried to hypothetically sell. So now at the next transfer window, when the squad is submitted, they have to lose 120 million euros from their salary somehow. They'll find another lever. They'll find another way.
Of course they will.
Selling the family silver. Another quick look at Atletico. So Mallorca won, Atletico Madrid won. More drop points.
Yeah.
Simeone's in trouble, isn't it?
It's difficult, as you said. It's a real difficult start to the season for Atletico. They have just won one game against
Villarreal, which to be fair was a good victory. Villarreal have had a very, very good start.
But having lost to Espanyol and then drawn against it was Elche, Alaves, and now Mallorca. When you see the investments of the transfer window, it's not professional for Atletico with this team to have that kind of start to the season. They spent a lot of millions once again, because they're used to when it's
that's two seasons in a row where over 100 million euros has been invested in the squad.
Incredible. So yeah, the results are really bad for that, for all those reasons.
But like I say, let's have a quick look at the top of the table. So Real Madrid, 5 from 5 on 15 points. Barcelona are second on 13. Both of those are undefeated. But then third, you have Villarreal, who recovered from that defeat to Atletico. I've lost the result. Where were they? Oh, yeah, winning 2-1 against Osasuna.
Yeah,
with
a goal from George Mikotadze, former Lyon player.
Lovely, get them in there. But yes, also Espanyol, fourth on 10 points. Considering we're going to get to some negatives, so like considering teams like Atletico, who you inevitably will recover, but Real Sociedad, especially, and Sevilla, so these clubs that used to being around sort of 5th to 8th place, is there a possibility that Espanyol could squeeze in? Considering how impressive they've been at the start of the season, because they played some of the big guys.
Yeah, but the thing is that we have to say it's just the 5th match day of the season. It's quite complicated. I still think that Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico will finish top 3 to the season. Then Athletic Club and Real Betis. But maybe it will be a surprise to see Espanyol, which was in La Liga 2 seasons ago, being European at the end of the season. Yes, why not? But if we just have a quick word on the top of the table, we could have one for the bottom one.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what
Girona is.
Stop skipping ahead. Stop it. But also, just a quick word: in 5th place is Elche, who are one of the favourites for relegation, and they're currently 5th on 9 points. So excellent start to the season. But yes, let's finish with La Liga by looking at the bottom of the table. So Girona have only got 1 point and a goal difference of -13, which might be the biggest problem because when they will lose badly. Do you think Michel Sanchez can turn this around? Because again, it was only a couple of seasons ago that everyone was lauding his incredible efforts in charge of Girona when they qualified for the Champions League. And last season they barely avoided relegation, and now it looks like they've gotten worse.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult situation for them. The good thing, if I can call it so, is that with one point, because they just had the draw, they are only, if I can say, 3 points away from the 16th place, which is held by Levante. So yeah, it just says that a lot of teams are having a bad start to the season, including Real Sociedad, which is.
Well, yes, we're about to get onto them. So,
Yeah.
Barcelona and Girona on 1 point. Mallorca have got 2, but it should point out that they've played, I think, all of the big 3. So they've had a tough start to the season. So there's context for that. But then the last relegation spot, 18th, is Real Sociedad. 5 games, 2 points. I mean, that's possibly the biggest surprise of the season so far, right? Because Real Sociedad have been so consistently, let's say, top 6 for the last few seasons, and suddenly they've just not gotten started at all this year. Manager Sergio Francesco, is it too early to say he's under pressure, or do you think this is real worrying signs?
Yeah, I think it's too early because you mentioned Mallorca to have played against the big 3. We can also say that Sociedad played against informed teams since the start of the season, with a game against Espanyol, one against Real Madrid.
They just lost to Betis.
Betis, yeah.
I suppose the comparison is, at least whereas Mallorca have played the teams they're expected to lose to, so say that against teams like Espanyol, especially, but also Betis, meant to look competitive and get something from those games.
And I think Real Sociedad are not playing to be a relegation battle team. So it will be interesting to see because they play Mallorca tomorrow. So it will be interesting to see their real level. And I think it's the perfect occasion at home against a bottom tier team to try to start something again, because they lost to Real Oviedo, which is a promoted team also. So it's they need to win. They need to have this win.
Yeah. Well, let's park La Liga there. we're gonna have a quick look at Bundesliga. We're just a little bit of Bundesliga talk, but there's actually not that much narrative to discuss. So their results: Stuttgart beat St. Pauli 2-0. St. Pauli had the chance to go second. Actually, no, they had the chance to go top of the league with that, but losing to Stuttgart. But on Saturday, Augsburg won Mainz 4, Hamburg 2, Heidenheim 1, Hoffenheim 1, Bayern 4, another Harry Kane hat trick. That for Bayern Munich, Harry Kane has now scored 13 goals in just 7 matches.
Yeah, I don't have words. I saw that he has scored 9 hat tricks since his arrival to Bayern Munich in 63 games. I think. Can we just talk about that performance? He's absolutely deserving. The best number 9 at the moment on earth, I think.
Like the journalist Seb Stafford-Bloor spoke about how, if it's possible, Bayern might have gone under the radar at the start of the season because, of course, we're so used to them being dominant in the Bundesliga, apart from 1 year, that we sort of may have missed the point that actually last year it felt like under Vincent Kompany, Bayern was sort of forming, and they had some excellent performances and they had some underwhelming performances, but still showed quality at good moments, and got to the quarterfinal of the Champions League. But it seems like at the start of this season, whisper it quietly, but it seems like they are significantly better as a unit, and this is without Jamal Musiala, who's still injured.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. When we were used to talk about Bayern last season, it was we can say partly cloudy to talk about them. They sometimes won with great scores, but then they lost a game or they didn't convince people. But this season they really play nice. We talked about it, I think, on the Friday's review of the European week. But the idea to put Serge Gnabry at Musiala's place is a great choice by now. They have won everything this season. They are on a 6 or 7 in a row victories series, so it's quite good. They have beaten Leipzig, even if Leipzig since last season aren't
well,
the best
I will
in
jump
Germany.
in here. Let me tell you the top of the table, because Leipzig, since that was it 6-0 they lost at the start of the season.
Yeah.
To Bayern. Since then they have won 3 from 3. So Leipzig beat Köln 3-1. Köln, who were actually above them in the table at the time. Bremen 0, Freiburg 3. I think possibly the biggest result and possibly the most fun game of the week in the Bundesliga. Frankfurt 3, Union Berlin 4. An Oliver Burke hat trick. And also it was quite a chaotic ending as well. Union Berlin winning 4-1 with 10 minutes to go, and then Özun, who scored a wonderful goal midweek for Frankfurt. And then Burkhardt scored a penalty in 87 minutes to make it quite nervous last few minutes. But yes, 3-4. Frankfurt, at the start of the season, I was talking about them potentially being the ones to squeeze to become the next, not necessarily challengers, but if Dortmund, and as we've seen with Leverkusen dropping form, I thought Frankfurt might be the ones to step up. But they've had a bit of a wobble recently, haven't they?
Yeah, but I have to say about Frankfurt, the thing I'm always surprised at it's their ability to find a new great striker after selling one, because when they sold when they get Colomani, then they get Hugo Ekitike. Now they have Kanuzun, who is having a great start to the season. So it's quite impressive for them to have this capacity. But yeah, their start to the season hasn't been the greatest. They have won 2 games, lost 2. This one against Union Berlin is a difficult one. Losing by 4 goals is quite difficult, knowing that
losing by 1 goal, conceding 4.
Yeah, but knowing that Union Berlin has a defensive problem since the start of the season, they I think they are the worst defense in the Bundesliga for now. So yeah, it was difficult, but I think they have what it takes to do a good season too, and to be in the fourth team to qualify to the Champions League.
Also, further problems for Bayer Leverkusen new manager Kasper Hjulmand. Still not getting them to click. They conceded a last-minute equaliser against Borussia Mönchengladbach, who've had a terrible start to the season, and that follows on from their pretty dismal performance midweek as well in the Champions League. Dortmund did win though by a single goal against Wolfsburg. Adeyemi with a bit of a rocket from the edge of the box. So yes, Bayern are top on 12 points. Dortmund are second on 10 points, and both of them are undefeated. Down at the bottom, Heidenheim still pointless. But then Borussia Mönchengladbach on 2 points and Augsburg on 3. Let's move on to the Premier League. A couple of things I want to chat about here, but you know what? None of them are going to be. I don't think we're going to chat about the big teams because, well, first of all, the big news being that after Liverpool defeated Everton 2-1 and Arsenal drew 1-1 with Manchester City, Martinelli getting another substitute goal, Liverpool are already 5 points ahead of Arsenal. Is this a concerning sight, considering Liverpool actually haven't been that good? I mean, they've been good in parts, but they keep conceding, they keep losing control of matches, and yet they've got 5 wins from 5 and 5 points ahead of Arsenal, Tottenham Hotspur, and Bournemouth in fourth place. Do you think this gap? How big does this gap need to get in these early stages for you to think, oh, this might be a procession?
The thing is that, as you said, Liverpool haven't played their best football since the start of the season. They won every game with late goals. We remember Newcastle, Arsenal.
Let's go in midweek.
Atletico, yeah, kind of every game, to be honest. So yeah, 5 points in a championship like Premier League. I think it's a lot, but because 5 points to Liverpool, you saw against Everton, Isaac, Florian Wirtz
On the
were on the bench.
Yeah.
Robertson too. Who's the right back? Jeremy Frimpong too. So yeah, the depth is incredible. But the thing is that with Premier League, you have so much tough games to play that 5 points can be
one recovered. Yes,
of course,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
The only thing is that the only thing is that Liverpool have already beaten Arsenal in their direct confrontation. So
yes, it's not as if Liverpool have had the simplest. I mean, they've not been very difficult. I think by the metric of who had the hardest, who had the easiest, Liverpool were very much in the middle. But even still, not dropping any points away to Newcastle. Even Bournemouth provide. I mean, look at Bournemouth are fourth. You know. But like I said, it's not the history of the big lads I'm going to talk about. Fourth place, Bournemouth. They drew 0-0 with Newcastle. Newcastle. I don't want to talk about them too long because I'm a big Newcastle fan and I don't want to seem biased. But in Newcastle's 5 matches, 3 have been away, and all 3 away games have been 0-0. So, and then the home matches, one was a 1-0 victory against Wolves, and obviously then the 2-3 against Liverpool, which is a fantastic game. I was going to say, I suppose the question is, or the 2-1, sorry. The Newcastle are currently struggling attacking-wise because, of course, losing Alexander Isak is such a huge thing, and it's going to take time for Voltemada to get into the side. Do you think it's concerning that they're not scoring goals, or do you think it's more important to look at how good defensively they've been? Because that's 4 clean sheets from 5 matches, 3 of which have been away.
No, to be honest, I'm not concerned about their lack of goals. When you take a look at their squad, it's plenty of good players. We talk about Voltemade, but he has just arrived to Premier League. But there are experienced Premier League players, including Jacob Murphy, Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon, even Johan Wissa, who is sidelined at the moment. But yeah, it's a lot of potential. It's young players for some, and for example, if I want to take the example of the Barcelona game, they had chances to score, but it was like I think Harvey Barnes missed 2 goals from that. So it's partly details, but I'm not worrying about the way they don't score yet. And I prefer to have a good defense than a good attack, to be honest, at the moment for the situation, because if you can't score goals, you should know how to not allow some from the opponent. So if you can do that, it's a good part. But now they will play against Arsenal, Forest, and Brighton, so it will be interesting to see how everything
But
is
I
going
wanted
on.
to highlight a couple of other teams. First of all, like the last teams to look at the top. So fifth place is currently Crystal Palace on 9 points. They are now on a 17-match unbeaten run, which is their best since 1960 something, I think. In that time, they've won the FA Cup, the Community Shield. They've gotten into Europe, and all while they've lost Eberechi Eze to Arsenal at the start of the season. They almost lost Gahey, who has been very professional in how he's approached everything. Oliver Glasner, do you think he gets the credit he deserves? Because I don't know, there's another team that plays 3-4-2-1, famously under Ruben Amorim, and yet you've got a team that plays a 3-4-2-1 who seems to be doing it very, very well with a team that cost a tenth of what Ruben Amorim's has. Do you think Glasner gets the credit he deserves for managing Crystal Palace?
From an external point of view, I don't think so. No, because if you just look at their result, they didn't lost a single official game since April, and away game against Newcastle, a 5-0 win against Newcastle. So it's incredible to have this kind of.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in. I just remembered a stat that I heard yesterday, which was since December, Crystal Palace have won more points away from home than any other team in the Premier League. They've won 4 more points than Liverpool, Manchester City. That's astonishing, but also speaks volumes about the fact that they have a certain way they play, which they play home or away, and teams just can't seem to get the better of them.
Yeah, it's incredible. Oliver Glasner brought them the trophy, the FA Cup trophy. He put them in Europe. As you mentioned, they lost important players. It's quite a really good start to the season, even if we can say that they haven't played really big names yet. Even Aston Villa, there is a context because Aston Villa are struggling for now. So, but they played Forest, Sunderland, which are having a good start to the season, and West Ham. So, okay, we will maybe wait for them to
see what their level is.
Yeah,
considering they perennially finish 13th or 11th, basically somewhere between 11th and 13th forever. Yeah. Perhaps this is the season they finish in the top half.
But but we can also praise what they have been doing for now months, because even if we will wait to see when they play against Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, who are also having a good season, or Manchester City, it's impressive to.
I would point out, obviously, talking in the league, but they have played Liverpool in the Community Shield, and they won.
Yeah, they won. Yeah, so.
Was it a draw, and they won on a penalty shootout.
Even if the Community Shield is the first game of the season, so Liverpool haven't all the squad ready and fit and everything, but it's a victory against the Premier League champion. So yeah.
Okay, last word on the Premier League. Going through the rest of the results: Brighton 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Spurs came from 2 goals down to draw that game. Burnley 1, Forest 1, West Ham 1, Crystal Palace 2. More pressure for Graham Potter in charge of West Ham. Wolves 1, Leeds United 3. Huge 3 points for Leeds United. Manchester United 2, Chelsea 1. We don't have time to get into that game, and that was possibly one of the most chaotic halves I've ever seen. Fulham 3, Brentford 1. Like I say, Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 0. Sunderland came from behind and with a man down to draw 1-1 against Aston Villa. Aston Villa scoring their first goal of the season, and it was a screamer from the defender. And as I said, Arsenal 1, Manchester City 1. What I want to quickly talk about before we finish up with the Premier League is the bottom of the table. So Vitor Pereira just been handed a new contract, head coach of Wolverhampton Wanderers, but they are still pointless. They still have 0 points. West Ham United are 19th on 3. Aston Villa have 3. Now, obviously, the amount of pressure that's on Graham Potter, there's a lot of fan protest about the board rather than him currently, which you got to say, like, West Ham's recruitment in the last couple of years has been very strange. It's been very haphazard and very feels like without direction. But considering how much pressure Graham Potter's under in 19th place, Unai Emery in charge of Aston Villa in 18th, obviously there's the issue with PSR, which kind of is the cloud overhanging at the minute. But do you think Unai Emery should be under more pressure? Do you think he is under pressure? Because that's still Aston Villa still haven't won this season, and keeping in mind they've got Europe to come. So this is the time when they can play their strongest side, and they just haven't had a victory yet. And actually, like I say, only scored 1 goal, and it took a screamer from a defender. So they just don't seem to be creating anything. Do you think Unai Emery is or should be under pressure?
I think he is, of course, because as you said, he made some great. We all know that football is something really where things happen really quickly. So if he doesn't manage to make his team better, he will soon be really, really under pressure. They lost to Brentford, Crystal Palace this season. It's difficult. It's been 5 weeks in the Premier League. They just scored 1 goal. You mentioned that they will enter the Europa League this week against Bologna. They will then play against Fulham, Tottenham, Manchester City in October, Liverpool on the early November, Feyenoord in Europe. So it's kind of crazy for a team.
I think
without confidence.
Did I read earlier today that Monchi has left Villa as the director. So
I saw the
is that a worrying sign that obviously Unai Emery and Monchi have worked together for so much? Is it a worrying sign that Monchi is left at this point?
I don't think it's a great news for Aston Villa fans. If the relationship between your trainer and the sporting manager become to be tense to the point that one of them leave the club, you have to raise question. It raises question, in my opinion. What do you think of that?
I completely agree, but it was also, I mean, it's not so much them falling out. Potentially, it could also be just the situation, like I say, because the financial limitations of Aston Villa. For people who don't know, part of the PSR issue is not so much the transfer fees. It turns out since Unai Emery took over Aston Villa, I think they've only spent an accumulative sort of net spend of about 40 or 50 million pounds, which is very small considering how long, like that's what 4 or 5 transfer windows. The issue is wages. Aston Villa has the highest wages to income, wages to turnover ratio in the whole league. So the last accounts published, they were over 90% of their turnover goes to their wages. And obviously now any UEFA competition, the sort of you have to be within, it's getting down to 70% is the limit. So if you go into European competition, it's almost like not a wage cap, but like I say, 70% of turnover. And the Premier League is getting in line with that as well. So you do worry about Aston Villa because just having to slash their wage budget. But that's the PSR issue. So rather than transfer fees, it's wages. So Monchi may well have left because what more can you do at Aston Villa? Because it seems like they're going to really struggle to develop the It feels like it's going to be a bit of a fire sale. We do have to leave the Premier League there because this is a bit of a longer episode because we had the chat about Ballon d'Or at the start. But let's end looking at Serie A, the most competitive league of all of these. There are 3 undefeated teams in Serie A. Do you know who they are?
Napoli, Juventus.
Yep.
And no, Como have been beaten. No?
Yeah, no,
Yeah?
not
Okay.
Como.
Cremonese.
Cremonese. Yes, Cremonese, after 4 matches, the Minnows, Cremonese, Jamie Vardy's new team, are still undefeated, drawing 0-0 at home against Parma. It should be said Parma did dominate them, but still 4 games in, undefeated. Still challenging for Europe, still undefeated. Yes, the results. So Lecce lost at home to Cagliari 2-1, Bologna 2, Genoa 1. Big matches on Saturday. Verona 1, Juventus 1. Juventus dropping points for the first time in the league. This is a really disappointing result for Juventus. Do you think this might have been them a bit tied, considering they had that incredible 4-4 draw against Dortmund in the Champions League? Sorry for the noise, that's my dog. Do you think that this match was just them being tired, essentially, rather than anything wrong at Juventus?
Yeah. To be honest, I don't really watch Serie A, so I will not say something I don't know. But these 2 games from the past week against Inter Milan and
sorry, and we should say the week before they beat Internazionale 4-3 at home. So
yeah.
So on a Sunday you got 4-3 against Inter.
Yeah.
Midweek you got a 4-4 against Dortmund. It's probably understandable that they're a bit tired.
Yeah, of course, and they will play because you mentioned 3 teams unbeaten. I think Atalanta didn't lost in the Serie A. Let me check.
You are absolutely right. Apologies, Atalanta 11. Well spotted, sir.
No problem. But yeah, I think it will. It can help to have played such tense games in the same week. But from what I've seen from Atalanta against PSG in the Champions League, it was quite difficult. After that, I don't know when they will have their players back because there are some injured players. So it will be also interesting to see that. So yeah, one of I would bet on maybe a draw between these 2 teams because Juventus playing home. Atalanta have some injured players. They played Champions League football this week. They will play next week too because the Champions League is already back. So it will be interesting to see.
Udinese 3, AC Milan. Sorry, Udinese 0, AC Milan 3. A good victory there for AC Milan. 2 goals for Pulisic and 1 for Fofana. AC Milan recovered pretty well after a disappointing start to the season.
And Luka Modric too. Luka Modric is having
but possibly the big game on Sunday, the Rome derby. Lazio 0, Roma 1. Goal from Pellegrini. Although the end of the game was almost as probably more fun than the actual game itself because Tiane got a red card in the 86th minute, and then Guendouzi got a red card as well in the 7th minute of stoppage time. So 2 red cards for Lazio. Roma took the win. As I said before, Cremonese 0, Parma 0, Torino 0, Atalanta 3. Don't know why I keep doing that. Torino are a funny side. They're currently 12th on 4 points. They're probably not at risk of relegation, yet they have the worst goal difference in the league.
Yeah,
they've had a few big defeats,
and they just scored 1 goal also, and it's funny with 1 goal and 8 conceded, you can be 12 in the league. It's quite unusual to see.
We should say it's only been 4 matches, so Serie A and the Bundesliga are a match behind. So
but if you compare to Aston Villa, for example, with just 1 match day more, they are in the relegation zone. So it's
that's point, and also Aston Villa have fewer points. You're very, very right. I'll finish up. Fiorentina 1, Como 2. Fiorentina had an awful start to the season. Como
Yeah.
looking great. Big victory for Inter after a disappointing week. Inter 2, Sassuolo 1. Action Monday night. Napoli, defending champions. Napoli 3, Pisa 2. Fantastic game. Napoli almost throwing it away, but holding on for the victory. Before we go, I'd like to highlight a couple of things. So looking at the table, top of the table, Napoli on 12, Juventus on 10. You got AC Milan and Roma on 9, Atalanta and Cremonese on 8. That's a really competitive bunch, isn't it? Because as you said, we've got 4 teams that are undefeated, but Atalanta and Cremonese, Cremonese, again, sort of put an asterisk because you assume they're going to drop a little bit. Although with Jamie Vardy, who knows, he's been there before. But that top 6, you've got 4 undefeated sides, sorry. Yeah, it's wonderful. You can see why Serie A is such a competitive league, can't you? Like any of them.
Yeah,
they're all basically as good as each other. They all offer something.
And you have to mention that some powerhouses, we talked about Inter Milano, Lazio, even Como are not here with the 6 teams, even if Como are 8 in the league. So it's really competitive. I think the mediatization of the league make that we don't really have news about it, watch it as we can watch Premier League or Liga, for example. But Serie A, I think they got some great teams, or at least teams on the same level, or practically same level. If we talk about Napoli, Juventus, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Roma, they are all good teams, and I think pretty close in terms of level. So of course it's interesting, and even if it's not for the title, because I think Napoli is the big favorite for the Champions League and European football. It's quite interesting to watch.
Let's leave looking at the bottom of the table. So Lecce on 1 point, Pisa on 1 point, Parma on 2. They're not that surprising. Fiorentina, though, only picking up 2 points at the start of the season. That's quite concerning for the Florence-based team. But the last word on Lazio. Lazio, I mentioned before, Torino are 12th on 4 points. Lazio are below them. They're in 13th on just 3 points. Concerning start for Lazio, considering fairly high expectations.
No,
I mean,
but it's
when I say
funny,
expectations, they're expected to challenge for a European place.
Yeah, of course. It's funny when you look at Lazio's result, because you see that their games are every time, or they win by a score without the opponents to score a goal, or when they lose, they don't score. So if they score, they will win. If they don't, they will not, and it will not be a draw or something. It's just a win or a loss for them. But it's quite deceiving, considering they got a good end of the season last season.
And now, of course, they got 2 suspensions to deal with, so it may only get worse.
Yeah. And I don't know what is the schedule. They will play Genoa, Torino, Atalanta, Juventus in October. So
it does suggest that they need to get something from the next 2 games, other's they could be in serious.
Yeah, Genoa and
the
Torino
manager
will
could be in trouble. You wouldn't imagine that they're at any serious risk, but again, like those 2 matches, not only are they winnable, they kind of have to be winnable, because the next 2 matches after that are very, very difficult.
It's very important for them to beat Genoa and Lazio in the two next week, because before traveling to Atalanta and have that Juventus clash.
Right. I think that's we'll leave it there on that bright sunny note for both of us. Right. Thank you everybody for joining us. To see how many people are watching. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you check out all our social medias, YouTube, on X, on anything you can follow or subscribe to, do it. We might be back on recording on Friday, maybe not, depending on what the midweek matches are like, but we definitely will be back next week, assuming I haven't been locked out of my house again. Thank you so much, Leo, for joining me today.
Thank you, Daniel. A pleasure.
Thank you to me for holding it together for long enough to actually record. Yeah, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Goodbye.